Hello and welcome. We're here back at Healthcare Unblocked 2019. We've had some amazing guests on so far today. We're in a beautiful, of course, London. It's a bit dreary outside today, but it doesn't mean to say the conversation is anything from that. We've had some great conversations so far, talking all things, of course, within blockchain. And we've also had many guests and speakers who have been speaking a little bit about cybersecurity and how that's affecting blockchain right now as well. I'd now like to introduce our next guest on the show, Alex Cahana, who is the head of healthcare and blockchain for Genesis Blockchain. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, and I'm enjoying my day in London.
Great. Well, where are you from in the world then? Are you from the States, my dear friend?
Well, I would say I'm now headquartered in New York, but I've been from all over the world, including Europe.
Great stuff. Well, you know, we're always happy to have many different nationalities here at this event today, and it's pretty international all around. So give us a little bit of an overview, because you've got quite a following, like you mentioned just before we came on camera right now, in terms of the blockchain world and crypto as well. Give us a little bit of an overview of your role there at Genesis Blockchain and really what you get up to day to day.
Sure. So my background is I was a practicing physician for over 25 years, always interested in systems design and systems redesign, and always worried a little bit about how healthcare is like everyone. And I've been, I would say, consulting investment firms and startup companies for over a decade. And when I came across blockchain, or distributed ledger technology, which I prefer, I really got hooked up on it. I think that there's something special to it. And my one-liner is, I want to blockchainize healthcare and healthify the crypto space. So that's what I do.
Fascinating. And so you're really looking at it from an investor standpoint then, or are you, what was your background prior to blockchain?
I think it's a great question. Not only investor perspective, but my background after medicine was in finance and serial entrepreneurial experience. And I would say that what I enjoy most is to create ecosystems, and ecosystems create economic activity. And that's where investors come in, is how do you create a sustainability within that system? And I always say that healthcare is an economic activity. When you are healthy, then you produce, and when you're sick, you don't. So by definition, our value comes in our health, and today data is the new money. So everything connects through distributed ledger technology.
Absolutely, data is the new oil, as people like to compare it to, and very much so. In terms of right now, though, with blockchain, a lot of people thought that if you're looking at it from an investment standpoint, there was a bit of a bubble with what happened in 2017. A lot of ICOs that came about. The way, especially within health tech and med tech, it's changing a lot. It's only 6% of the market within blockchain. The rest is all mainly sort of fintech. How does med tech differ especially within utilizing blockchain to more of the fintech market?
Yeah, I think that's a great observation. I actually write about that quite a bit. I post on Medium, and I discuss why healthcare does not receive the same attention, because not only do I believe that healthcare is a vertical for distributed ledger technology, but I think it is the vertical that needs to be invested in, because the ROIs are huge. I think that a lot of it has to do with education. People simply don't know. They conflate between blockchain and cryptocurrency and all the bad rep that comes with it. I think also that they have a sense, even though it might not be true, that it's heavily regulated and heavily, I would say, guarded, and so that there's not a lot of opportunity there. And I would disagree with that assertion as well. And I think the last is that there are a lot of incumbents, centralized stakeholders, centralized organizations like large payers, large insurers, large hospitals, large practices, the industry, be it pharma or medical devices, that I say are a bit weary of the change ahead. I think change is inevitable. I think that the system that we have right now is not sustainable, and it's not sustainable because it is exclusionary. So anytime you do something that does not include the benefit of you as a user, it's not going to work.
And would you say, though, for a country like the UK, which has a national health service, okay, so it's a public service, the taxpayers pay for it, which is very much centralized in terms of the way how it's formed, okay, but there's also, I would argue, because of the way how it's formed and run, that there is a lot of old school ways of doing things, and there's a lot of apprehension from doctors, consultants to utilize blockchain as a technology. Would you say something like the blockchain medtech works better in somewhere like the States over from the UK and Europe? Because obviously there's privatized healthcare within the UK and Europe as well.
Yeah, it's a great question, and the short answer is no. I don't think that having a privatized or versus a socialized system makes the difference. I think that what makes the difference is that, in essence, the problem is that we treat users, or patients if you wish, as health service consumers. So the only thing that you can do is just consume more and more of it. And at the end of the day, that's not sustainable. Now we have $1 million pills, and soon we'll have $5 million pills. Who's going to pay for that? So it doesn't matter if it's multiple payers or one single payer. What matters is that having people behave as consumers, passive consumers, is not sustainable. And what needs to happen is to transform everyone from being a consumer to a health producer. And we're starting to see that with the quantified self, with people using Fitbit, with people using Oura rings or things to that extent, where they
Self-care,
self-management. But what is missing in that is the inclusionary economy, is that we can actually, through tokens, through I would say creation of a digitized asset, we can actually incentivize people to be committed to that behavior modification. So when my a wife says to me, you need to eat a little bit healthier so that I can live another 30 minutes in 30 years, I say, no, I prefer to chum down this steak. But if I would own...
likewise.
Yeah, but if I would own stock, for example, in the wearables that I have through a token, or I would be remunerated, even hard cash in my pocket, I might think twice of doing this. So I think that actually transforming us to health and wealth producers, it's correct to do it in developed markets, in developing markets, as well as either one single payer or multiple payer systems.
Very, very interesting take you've got on that as well. And it varies from person to person at this event. And just talking quickly, before we have to wrap things up with this interview right now, what do you think about today? Obviously, it's an intimate event. Lots of different people from different backgrounds here. Great conversation. What's your thoughts?
Well, I love what Helen does and what Healthcare on Block does. This is my second time that I'm here. I'm pleased to give the closing keynote speech. And it's just a very serious group of people. So for me, intimate is actually very good, because you have here people that are really interested, and each and one, I hope, are transformed to be an ambassador to spread the news, because in 10 years from now, this is going to be the normal.
Great. And Alex, for people who want to find out a little bit more about yourself and find out more about your company, how can they go about doing that?
Well, my email is alex@genesisblockchain.io, and I respond very quickly. I can also be pinged through Medium and LinkedIn, and this is great. I'm looking forward to see more of your work and the people from here. Thank you.
I'll mentally remind myself to do that straight after this interview as well, so we'll catch up there. But by all means, enjoy the rest of your afternoon. I think I kept you from the Q&A panel, which is going on now, so go and enjoy that.
That's fine. Thank you so much.